So I learned so much with that video on like ask what they want to see, like verify that that video is even wanted, and then number two, figure out what people want to know, make that video, get their feedback on title and thumbnail before you do it, and then release it when it's ready. People are always on. They're always going to go to the bathroom and open YouTube. It doesn't matter, you know. Like, I mean, I don't do that, but I hear people do that. So yeah, just make content
We're better
people
than
want
that.
to see. And no one had made that. No one had made that specific video. I don't think.
Before we get to the episode today, I want to thank our sponsor, Surf Prep Sanding. Whether you're looking for the highest quality of sanders, dust extractors, or abrasives, Surf Prep has what you need to take your project to the next level. I've been using Surf Prep for a couple of years now and know firsthand the quality of their products. The amazing family who stands behind their brand is by far the best in the industry. Use code MAKERLOUNGE, all one word, for 10% off your order at surfprepsanding.com. Thank you to Surf Prep for sponsoring today's episode. Head over to their website and use that code for that 10% off, and let me know if you have any questions. What a great family Surf Prep is, or family-owned operation. And so if you ever need anything and you reach out to them, you're probably talking to one of the family members. So great people. Also, thank you to our patrons. We have a new patron. You may have heard him on last week's episode. Nick Sawyer with Sawyer Design became a top-tier patron. So thanks to Nick and all of our other patrons. We will mention them at the end of the episode. So if you want to get in on the patron action, we do from time to time we do live streams. We did a live stream from Workbench Con with Surf Prep, and so great time over there. Head over to patreon.com/makerloungepodcast. We also have a Discord where you can write in questions or topic ideas. Welcome to the lounge. I'm Matt with Voltner Woodworking and your host of the Maker Lounge podcast, where we have a rotating group of makers hanging out and talking shop with each other. Whether he's doing tool reviews or working on product development, this creator keeps subscribers engaged with his intriguing storylines and visual style. From Sunday morning sermons to speed squares, he can deliver a compelling message that keeps his audience from nodding off. He has more track saws than there are days of the week, and somehow he has convinced his wife they are for research and development. If you watch his videos, you'll quickly see he puts the Witt in Witt Works. Drew Witt, thanks for being here.
Oh man, that's great. Thank you. I have 11 now, by the way.
Is that right? 11 track saws.
Yeah, I just bought another one last week.
Oh my gosh. So should we expect a tool review on that one?
Oh no. I might put it into. So I have these 3 saws that people keep asking me to review, but they're not worth reviewing. So I'm gonna just do them all together as like the crappiest tracks. Like, here's what you need to know about the crappiest track saws. And so I'll just shoehorn that one in, you know.
I can already see the comments like, I own this one. I think it's great.
Oh, for sure. Oh, 100%.
That's good.
It's like, you should try Festool.
Yeah.
You think that's great.
11 track saws. So when did you get your first track saw?
You know, I borrowed a Makita. I think it was the end of 2019. And I was amazed at how quickly I was cutting up some plywood, and I was preparing to spend like an hour cutting up, and I was done in 5 minutes, and all the pieces were like accurate, like dead on. Yep. And there's no, and I was like, oh my word. And so I held on to it. And like 2 weeks later, my friend's like, hey, I need my track saw back. I was like, dang it. I hope you forget about it. And then Black Friday, I think it was Black Friday or Christmas. Amazon had that Makita one. It was like $300 or something. And so I got it, and I just stopped using my table saw for most things.
Right.
Just because it was safer and it was just more accurate. I didn't have to measure all these offsets and, you know. So that was my first one, was really the end of 2019.
Okay. Yeah, I have a Makita as well. So I agree with you on Makita. I was a little bit burned when you did the Milwaukee one. But
Yeah,
my friend
Me
Drew,
too.
my friend came over and he said, "Hey, he was gonna help me out with the project." And he's like, "Yeah, I brought my track saw." And I was like, "Uh-oh, this is dangerous." I had never used one before. So as soon as he left, I looked at my wife and I was like, "Can I?" And she said, "Go ahead." So I bought a track saw. Yeah, she's a great supporter.
You had the cordless. You had the cordless Makita,
Yeah.
the 36.
Yeah, it's great, man. Like if people are using like, I almost feel like the chop saw is irrelevant these days.
Yeah, I rarely use mine.
Yeah.
I need to have, if I had a little bit more space, I'd have an MFT set up where I can do crosscuts. Yeah. For most people, I'm surprised by how many people are getting into that. It's in particular, like retired folks who they just, they're downsizing, or they just don't want to lift a whole sheet of plywood through a table saw anymore.
Right.
And they're like, I'm going to get a Festool MFT and a Trex, and like, I'm like, wow, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised at it. They're great.
I mean, you could even just as you're offloading the stuff from your truck, if you have a couple sawhorses there, just break down the sheets and bring it in. It's like,
oh, the biggest thing is I haven't done a video on it yet, but I bought a Bora like centipede thing. It like collapses, looks like like the pop-up tents. You seen those?
Yeah, I've got one.
And yeah, they're awesome. Yeah. They're great.
Yeah. Great for space saving if you're working in a one-car garage or something like that, like a lot of people are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're cheap. They're space saving. They're light. Yeah. There's some trade-offs, but for the average person, it's great.
Yeah. So speaking of Festool, I got to say that you're the third guest in a row, I think, that attended the Festool event, and I'm not going to say that I'm jealous.
Oh man,
that looked like a great time.
It's a great, I'm a Makita man.
Yeah.
And when I started my channel, one of my bucket list items was one day I'd love to work with Makita. And I'm over here dreaming. I've given them so much love. I've sold so many of their saws. They either don't know who I am or are pretending to not know who I am.
Yeah.
And I get a DM one day from someone that works with them and said, "Hey, can we have your cell phone number?" And I was like, "Uh-oh." Like, am I in trouble? Because they said, "Hey, we saw your video on the Festool dust extractor." And I was like, "Oh, crap." And so they called and said, "Hey, we want to invite you to this event." So this was like the fall of last year. I was like, "What?" And a couple of months later, I got an email. And I was really blown away at that whole thing.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm dreaming of Makita, and Festool slides in. It's like, "Hey, can we talk?"
Yeah. You're waiting for Makita to contact you.
And I've appreciated Festool. The only thing I don't like about them is their prices.
Right.
But after being there, I now understand.
Yeah.
Like, their facility is beautiful. They take care of their employees. Like, they have natural windows in their warehouse. It's they have climate control in the warehouse. None of the other warehouses around in the industrial park have climate control.
Wow.
They had there's a other company next to them that I won't say their name, but everyone buys from them every day. And they had like an employee almost die because it was so hot in the warehouse in the summer. And so Festool, they have air conditioning in there. They have like 1 8-hour shift. Their employees get paid 1-hour lunches and 15-minute breaks, 2 paid 15-minute breaks. It's like a family owned. I thought Festool was this major corporation. They're family owned. And like how they treat their employees and then like the work that they do. My takeaway is like, you can't do this cheap. You can't do what they're doing and have the quality talent and pay them like trash.
Right.
And so walking away, I was like, I get it. I get why the price point is where it's at.
I don't remember if it was you or somebody else, but it says that they charge by the character of their models.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I heard that and I was like, well, I got to write that one down, but I can't steal it. But in casual conversation, I'm definitely using that one.
their CEO is, I mean, I spent like over an hour talking to their CEO at the event.
Wow.
And just a dude.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he's already emailed me twice. I think he gave Derek from Malden a ride home and like gave him his cell phone numbers. Hey, if you ever need any help, let me know. And just like, I'm not getting the contact info of the CEO of Makita.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
So now skeptics might say that's just their strategy to like win you, but I have a pretty good radar, and like, man, Sedge and Brent and Clint and all the people there, 100% just salt to the earth, 100% good people. I did not pick up any. I didn't pick up anything saying that they're trying to market. Or they're trying to, win you over, smooze you. They're not. It was fantastic. And they've never paid me anything. They've never given me anything.
Right.
So it's not like suddenly
you're on the payroll
deal and I'm talking great. It cost me money to go out there. I lost 2 days of work and I had to pay to go out there. And they gave me a little bit for my flight, but it didn't cover it.
Right.
And so, great. I don't like the prices, but I get them. I understand. Why it is the way.
Yeah, Surf Prep is very much the same way. Skylar, he is the most personable person you'd ever met, and it's a great family. And compare that with some of the other different types of sanding systems, and it's like you're saying, it's like a difference between Festool and Makita versus Surf Prep, and I don't want to say the other ones, but you get the point. Some of the other ones, it's like you'll never talk to the same person over there. You'll never, if you have an issue, like there was Skylar tells a story about how there was somebody who, they brought the sander or sent the sander back to him and said, hey, it's broken. It fell on the ground and it was demolished. And so he takes a look at it and he's like, look, I'll fix it. But come to find out that the sander was run over. And the owner didn't know when he sent it in that was actually the story, but one of his guys had run it over. But Skylar replaced it, and it's like, look, that's fine. Like, I stand behind my product. And so it's good to have good American, family-owned businesses. And, well, Festool's German, but.
Yeah, they're German. But what's crazy is they're, I didn't know this, they do all of their repairs in Indiana.
Oh,
Okay. So like Milwaukee has repair centers everywhere, and you just kind of ship it to the closest one. The reason why Festool is in Indiana is it's like they can get to Canada, southern part of the United States, and both coasts in about the same amount of time.
Wow.
And it's like this perfect like clover, I guess what they call it. But they're if you send something in to get repaired, they guarantee that it will be out the door within 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
But 96% of repairs go out the door within 24 hours.
That's impressive.
So they do 90 repairs a day. And so like literally if you're on if you're making your money with the tool and you break it on a Monday and you ship it in and they get it like on a Wednesday, it's in the mail on Thursday.
Wow.
And you might get it on Friday or Saturday or worst case Monday. And like to get a tool replaced back in your hands within a week. Yeah. Crazy. And I'm not just in theory. I had a sander that I messed up, and that's what happened.
Wow. That's great. I love to hear that.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, you're not getting that with Ryobi or Rigid.
Right.
I mean, I've heard horror stories of people who have a lifetime warranty with Rigid, and Rigid won't honor it. So there's just like, if you're making your money with this, I think you can make a case that you're going to spend more money going with these lower brands because when the tool fails, you're screwed. Yeah. But with Festool, I think you get a 3-year warranty maybe.
Okay.
I forget the exact term, but it's a great warranty and you can get your thing back within like the next day that they receive it, you're getting it in the mail back. I mean, it's unbelievable. And you just can't do that cheap. We're so used to like IKEA and Walmart and Amazon and all these like bargain products that operate at these global economies of scale.
Right.
Like great things cost money.
Definitely.
Great things take time. Great things cost money. And to do great things consistently, you need great people, and you need to pay great people great. And you need to air condition their work environment and do one shift and give them paid lunch to keep them.
Yeah.
And you can't do that selling sanders for $50, you know? So
that's true.
I get it. You know, you can cry about not being able to afford it, but their business model necessitates what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I can respect that. I don't have to like it, but I can respect it.
So speaking of lunch breaks and working in the heat, you used to do lawn care, and now you do woodworking. So I see that you started your channel, your YouTube channel, and you had a lot of like lawn care stuff. Was that what was the shift? Like what created the shift for you?
Yeah, so I started with some woodworking stuff, and at the time I was following a lot of woodworkers and a lot of lawn care people. The reason is when we built our house, we put sod in, and I knew nothing about caring for it. And then it was the winter time, and it went dormant. And then by May, it hadn't woken up, and I freaked out. Like I can't afford to resod my yard. And so I went on YouTube to figure out how do I take care of my grass, and I learned I was not watering it enough. I didn't know how to fertilize and all that stuff. And then I got addicted to the transformation. It's like, oh my goodness, if I do this, I get this. And I got to the point to where like I got a golf course lawnmower on Craigslist, and was like reel cutting at like 1/2 inch and sand leveling the yard. And neighbors would always walk by and go, how do you like your fake grass? And they were serious, but it was real. It looked, I could send you a picture, like it looked like artificial turf, but it was real. No weeds. It was perfectly level and flat. And I got really just addicted to like, this yard looked like trash and now it looks like a golf green. Yeah. And I did that. And so that's real. I hated yard work, but that feeling of like, I turned something trashy into this beautiful thing was just amazing. And I learned a lot along the way, and people would ask me questions. And since I was kind of passionate about it, I would do that. So one day I was going to dethatch my lawn, which is just remove all the lawn litter that gets like down into the canopy that, you know, your mower doesn't suck up, and it just sits there and takes a while to decompose. The problem is it becomes a sponge for water, and then so your water, when it rains, it doesn't go into the soil, and then because it's a sponge, and then you fertilize, then you're feeding fungus, and that's how your yard can get like lots of disease.
You're describing my lawn.
There you go. So I got this like dethatcher for $100 online, and I every spring I dethatch and scout my yard, and it looks like trash for 2 weeks, and then it looks perfect, and it's like blows people's minds. So my wife says, you should video yourself doing that and talk about it. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm a woodworking channel. And so she's my wife. So I listened to her and I did it. I think I had like maybe 30 subscribers at the time. And the video got 100,000 views. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
It's the worst thing that could happen, because now my wife's like, I told you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh crap, I need to make lawn. So I would do like, you know, why I'm scalping my yard, and then like a Makita track saw review. And I would do well on both those videos. But what I realized is the people who subscribed for the lawn, they weren't, most of them weren't also interested in their workshop, and vice versa. And so by the end of that year, I'm like bouncing back, and I'm just like, oh, well, my niche is the homeowner, you know, whatever. And there are people who have that overlap. Yeah. So a month after I started my channel, this guy named John Cesaro starts a channel, Lincoln Street Woodworks, and he started a month after me and got to 100,000 subscribers in like 10 or 11 months. And I was like at 1,000 subscribers. And I was like, okay, I know how to do video better than this guy. I know how to do audio. Like, he's got a video where like one half of the audio isn't even on there, you know, like how does this guy get 100,000? And so we became friends, sort of. And he's just so blunt, and he told me, Drew, you need to do some soul searching and figure out, are you going to do lawn content or are you going to do woodworking? And ever since that conversation, I haven't done another lawn video.
But the playlist is still there for those that are interested. How long is the lifespan? I need to unlist them. I think after this video, I'm going to go unlist them because it's about to be lawn care season, and I'm going to ruin my algorithm if those videos start getting traction. Yeah. So I think that's the hardest part for, you know, I'm what's interesting, right before we got on, I was like, let me take one more peruse through your Instagram channel and your Instagram page. And I came across a post where you said you were kind of at the precipice of quitting your YouTube channel. And then a video took off and you showed the chart of that. I'll try to put that up on the screen for anybody that's watching. And I looked at my wife. I said, look at this, babe. I said, I feel like this is where I'm at. Like I just know in my heart that something's got to take off. And if it doesn't, then it's just not for me. And so your post that you posted back in October was like very inspiring for me today. I'm like, okay, just one more video. Yeah. And so I needed to see that. So you skyrocket.
There's so many. So I'd seen so many people do that same thing. Here's where I was about to quit, and look what happened. And I was like, yeah, that'd be nice, but I'm still slugging away 2 years later.
Yeah.
And I actually have an image. I have an image, a screenshot, and I think it actually was in that Instagram of my good friend John from Huntington Builds. He had texted me and said, hey, how's the vacuum video going? At that point, I was 3 weeks into the video. I had almost finished the edit that took me 50 hours to edit. I had spent, I think, maybe close to $2,000 on this video because I bought all the tools. And I had done my final pass and realized I don't have enough B-roll for this one thing. And if I'm really going to do this right, I need to get that B-roll shot. So I had to go back out in the garage, set everything back up, get all these B-roll shots, and I hated every minute of it. John texts me at that moment, says, how's the video coming? And I took him a picture. I took a screenshot. I sent him a picture, and I said, if this video doesn't take off, I'm quitting. And that video ended up getting, I think, 1,000 views in the first day, 2,000 views the second day, 4,000 views the third day. It doubled every day until day 7. It hit 100,000 views. It's now, I think, over 550,000 views on that video. Great. And I had 4,400 subscribers in the end of September, which was October, November, December, January, 5 months ago. So I had 4,500 subscribers 5 months ago, and I think I just crossed 32 or 33,000. Yeah. And a lot of it is because of that video expanded the profile of the audience that YouTube recommends. And I learned so much with that video that I've kept implementing the lessons I learned in that video.
So would you say because it was more of a broad audience or something? Like what were the key takeaways just like that would apply to everybody? Would it apply to everybody?
Yes. But you got to pay for that. I'll tell you for free.
Save it. We can save it for the after show. No.
I'll give it away. There's a lot. Okay, so the first thing is I had actually joined a YouTube mastermind by a guy. I think his name is Leron. I forget his last name, but I think his YouTube channel is called The Techie Guy. He's got maybe 800,000 subscribers. He consults with like Preston Plays and like all these big YouTubers who have tens of millions of subscribers. He's like their whisperer or whatever. So he, through NOS Academy, did a YouTuber thing. I think it was like maybe $400 or $500. And so I signed up for it in the summer. And it was basically, the takeaways are, number one, you're not going to hack the algorithm.
Yep.
So stop trying. It's smarter
It's not
than
about
you.
keywords.
And nope. And he said, replace algorithm with people. Instead of making a video to serve the algorithm, make a video to serve people. It was just like basic stuff like that. But one of the assignments was, really study your avatar. And like, it was like a 40-minute video and like a 20-page PDF you had to print out, and you had to like go interview your subscribers and like, what are they afraid of? What gets them angry? Like write out. And then part of the thing was you had to actually come up with, my avatar is Jim, and he's a 35-year-old white dude living in suburban, whatever. Okay. And I was like, I don't want to do this. But I did it. And I had become friends with a lot of early subscribers. And eventually it was like, they would Instagram me. And then eventually Instagram got annoying. I was like, dude, here's my cell phone number. I can't keep coming back to Instagram to talk to you. And so I probably have, there's probably like 10 people in the audience that have my cell phone number. And like, we're legitimate friends. Okay. Like wholeheartedly, my pure heart is, I like these people and they're my friend. They happen to be subscribers. Also, I study them. But I like genuinely care about them, and so I just pay attention to like, what their problems are, how I can help them, like legitimately, how can I help them, and so like I always run video ideas by them. I run titles and thumbnails by them. I let them see previous edits, and I'm like, tell me where you get bored, tell me what doesn't connect, because like it doesn't matter what idea I have. If it's not helping you, it's pointless. Right. And so tell me how to help you. Help me help you, right? And so so one of the assignments was ask your audience about your next video. So I went to the community tab at the end of, I think it was in September. So this is the gold, okay? Here's the gold.
Wait.
Here's how you get a 500.
We'll put that in the after show. No, just kidding.
Is there an after show? I don't know. I didn't sign up for. Oh, okay. Here's the gold. If you're making videos, do this tonight. Okay. Go to your, make a poll. And the poll was, I have 5 video ideas. Which one do you want to see next? And I listed out like, a marking measuring video, like a laser review video, like mistakes you make at the table saw, whatever. And there was like 4 videos that I had like on the dock. Okay. However, that week I had gotten 2 comments of people who had watched a video I did from almost a year earlier when I bought the Festool vacuum. I bought the vacuum and did like a little, hey, I bought this vacuum. I might do a comparison against this rigid shop vac. I never did the video. But the week before I did this community post, I had 2 people comment on that video that maybe had 1,000 views. And they said, hey, did you ever do that one video? And I was like, no. But I had in the back of my mind. So I put on the poll, cheap rigid vacuum versus $1,500 Festool. And at that time, most of the community engagement I would get on my feed was like, I might get 5 thumbs up in one comment. Like no one really like
my channel.
Talked back to me. Okay. But what I was doing, looking back, was I was like, hey, here's a community post about me. But this one I flipped it and I made it about the person. I made it about the audience. And I said, hey, which one of these videos are you most interested in? I had, I think, 349 people answer the poll.
Wow.
I didn't know 349 people were paying attention to me. And the number one video that they wanted to see was this vacuum comparison video. The one I threw in as a last minute thought because these 2 people had commented about it. It wasn't on my radar. It wasn't on my dock. I was not planning on making that video. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting that this amount of people responded. And the video I wanted to make, like 2% voted for. The video I wasn't even thinking of making, 80% or whatever voted for that. And so I had, my coach's voice in my head, make videos for the audience, not the algorithm, So then I did what everyone says to do, and I had never done. I went and made a thumbnail first. I had never made a thumbnail before the video until that time. It was always an afterthought. So I go into the garage, I set up the 2 vacuums, and I take a bunch of shots. And I do the obligatory Mr. Beast face.
Surprised, yeah.
Whatever. And I got so many people saying, I hate the Mr. Beast face, you're better than that. And I was like, what? I mean, I hate it too. But I thought, you're told you have to do the Mr. Beast face like John Malecki if you want to get 300,000 views. And there was so many, respect to Mr. Malecki, but like there were so many people who were like, I won't even click on a video. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So I ended up doing 2 versions. One was just the 2 vacuums with the prices above them and a versus, and then I did an option with me in there. And I A/B tested them eventually, and like way more people clicked the one that had my face in it. But I did just like a simple I didn't do like a crazy face. It was just like a weird face. It was a very subtle face, but my face was in there. And I think there's like lots of data on people click on faces more than non-faces. Just don't be stupid, right? So I made the thumbnail and the title. So then I posted a third community post, and it was, what questions do you want answered? And I had a guy comment, this is too many posts, I'm unsubscribing. You're annoying. That's what he said. And I was like bothered. I was like, oh crap. Am I doing too much? I gained 29,000 subscribers since that guy said that. So I think I'm okay. But I had so many people ask all these questions that I wasn't thinking of. And I had one guy even say, I'm really interested in the air quality of the HEPA. Could you figure out a way to test the air quality? And I was like, I hadn't thought about that. So I took everyone's questions and I formulated them into a script, and I made the video based on what people wanted to know.
That's great. That's powerful.
So I then shot that. I did that, and then I edited it down, and I was like, oh man, this video is supposed to be like 10 minutes because I'm told, videos longer than 10 minutes don't perform well or whatever, which is a lie. And so I did another thing, and it was, hey, do you care more about filter performance, suction, noise, whatever? And the last section was, I'm fine with a 30-minute video. Or like all of it, I'm fine with a 30-minute video. And the most amount of people said, all of it, I'm fine with a 30-minute video. I was like, oh, so I don't have to cut out things? I'll just put it all there? So here's another myth that was busted. I was going to hold it for like Saturday morning, because that's what YouTube says is the prime time to release it. And I was done with the video. It was uploaded, locked and loaded on Thursday at 4 p.m. And I was going to hold it for another day and a half. And I go open YouTube and I see Chris from A Glimpse Inside. He releases a video reviewing the Festool Cyclone for his CT MIDI. And that was a big part of the video that I just did. And I got kind of scared. Like, oh no, Chris is great. This video is going to blow up. I have a video that mentions this in a couple of days. And for some reason I thought well, my video is not going to do well. His video is going to take off. And so out of fear, I went and I made the video public at Thursday at 4:03 p.m. So the point of that is, I actually don't think release time matters.
I'm glad you said that.
If the video's good, the video's good. If the video's good, the video's good. And it took off. So I learned so much with that video on ask what they want to see. Verify that video's even wanted. And then number 2, figure out what people want to know, make that video, get their feedback on title and thumbnail before you do it, and then release it when it's ready. People are always on, they're always going to go to the bathroom and open YouTube. It doesn't matter, like, I mean, I don't do that, but I hear people do that. So just make content people want to see. And no one had made that specific video, I don't think. And that's the one that got Festool's attention. It changed the channel. It changed the trajectory of everything. But I always go back to, it was because I was studying my audience and I was asking, what do you want me to make for you? And I made that. And it took like 3 weeks. It took a lot of effort. And I did the same thing with the Milwaukee track saw. I forgot that I bought that back in November. I didn't get tracking. And so like literally one day I come home from lunch and it's sitting in the living room. I didn't know what it was. I was like, what's this box? Oh, it's a track saw. And so I just threw it out there like, hey, what questions do you have about this saw? And I got like 30.
Wow.
Immediately. And so that night, I printed off the questions. I went into my workshop and I recorded a video. And at 9 p.m. on a Thursday, I uploaded the footage to my editor. He started working on it at like 5 a.m. on Friday. I got a preview at noon. He was going out of town. I did a couple of tweaks, and then I released it on Saturday morning. And it got 300,000 views in 8 days.
Wow.
And it just crossed 400,000 views. And I think it's the number one Milwaukee track saw. I don't think there's a Milwaukee track saw video that has more views than that one.
Wow.
And while I was at Festool, I got an Instagram message from someone at Milwaukee asking if they could call me. And I talked to a guy last week from Milwaukee. He had me sign an NDA. They have a product they're working on that they haven't told anybody about, that I can't tell anyone about for a year. And he wants to fly out to San Antonio to show me this product for a few days and get my input on it. And I'll have the first video in the world on it when it's released.
Wow. Who would have thought that this would have been in your future 2 years ago?
Right. But I put all of that back on asking people, what questions do you have? Now, I know how to do cameras, I know how to do lights and all this stuff, and I have a certain personality and a certain style, but I weigh everything heavier on just ask people what they want to know and make that video. And get to the point, cut the BS out, make it fun, make it entertaining, be different, deliver on it, make a good title and thumbnail, and you'll not only get like 400,000 views, you might get the actual company to DM you on Instagram to say, can we have your number? We want to talk to you.
Well, you probably have really good retention, if I were to guess, because you do a fantastic job at storytelling, kind of like I mentioned in the intro. And I think a lot of that comes from your background and having to write something that's going to captivate people for, an hour or something like that. But you do a good job at drawing the viewer and getting him to hold on, and then wait, there's one more point. But wait, that's not it. There's one more point. Like an actual good Billy Mays. It's like yeah. But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
And then you've got a very
I hate doing that. But that's how human brains work, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that
I hate it. I despise it.
You did a play on it, I think. If I were to guess, it was kind of a play on it. You're like, when you're talking about the marking knife, and you kind of like strung it. You didn't abide the rule of threes in that. You did like the rule of eights. But that's not the reason why. There's one more reason, but that's not even the reason.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, anticipation, curiosity, and we are curious. Humans are curious, and there's, I think, almost every podcast I do, I talk about this book. If you're making content and you haven't read the book Hook Point or listened to it, you should quit because you're being negligent. And basically, I listened to it, and then I ended up buying it, and I go through and study it. But Hook Point by Brendan Kane. If you're skeptical, you could just YouTube Hook Point Brendan Kane The Future or Hook Point Brendan Kane Think Media. He has 2 great interviews on both those channels, which would be a good starting point for anybody. He got 1 million followers on Facebook in 30 days, and then he did it again on Instagram, and he wrote a book on how to do it. And his thing is everything they do is rooted in research, and going viral is not luck, it's a science. It's a mathematical formula. And most people who go viral don't know why they go viral. And so he helped Taylor Swift. Like his clients are like Taylor Swift, Katie Couric, professional athletes. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's helped Tom Brady. Like, he is brilliant. And the book is he talks about how there's like 60 billion digital messages made every day. And so if you are making a piece of content and you're not learning how to stand out, you're just adding to the noise. And so I think that's why Lincoln Street and Cam from Blacktail are so great, is they know how to stand out. They know how to stand above the noise. But yeah, Hook Point with Brendan Kane is a fantastic read.
I'll put it in the show notes for those listening.
Yeah. I've listened to it. I'm listening to it a second time, and I've read through it. And just the notion that any niche can go viral. It doesn't matter the niche. Humans are humans. But there are certain, like, I think there's like 50 different performance drivers that they look at for videos that perform well versus videos that don't perform well. And they have just a scientific approach to like analyzing all across every niche, across every platform. And I've learned a lot from studying him.
I think if guys building huts underground, you know, in Malaysia or wherever can go viral, then anything can go viral. Everything has the potential.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and you have a specific style. In fact, I've seen other I've seen people comment, "Oh, that's a Witt Woodworks, style or whatever." I think you get you get you have a certain way of delivering your videos that it's consistent across your channel. You've got the backlighting, you've got good facial lighting, things like that. Do you think that is important for creators, or you think that's a specific thing for you?
For me, those things are my unfair advantages. I don't know who popularized that idea. I learned about it from a guy named Ali Abdal, who's a great YouTuber. And everyone has an unfair advantage. It's something that you're uniquely good at or experienced in that most people don't have. And when you pull on that lever, you get more leverage than the average person. So I'd say, like, I keep mentioning him, but because I have so much admiration for him. But John from Lincoln Street, his day job is marketing. He understands marketing. That's his unfair advantage. And when he pulls on that lever, he can get 100,000 subscribers in 10 months. Yeah. So that's an unfair advantage to him. One of my unfair advantages is, I was in church ministry for 20 years, and every 7 days I had to write a 25 to 30-minute talk and had to give it in person and hold attention in a room and do that every 7 days. And so, like, I went through, like, 5 years ago, I did the math on how many hours I've done prepping and giving talks, and I was at 20,000 hours. And Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hour rule to, like, become, like, I don't know, an expert or whatever phrase he uses. I don't know. Like 5 years ago, I had doubled that.
Right.
When it comes to public speaking, Just because since I was 18 years old, I was having to do that every 7 days. And I bet you there's not a woodworker who's had to write the level of content every 7 days for 20 years like I have. I probably have more public speaking experience than any woodworker on YouTube, just from the nature of that. There might be, maybe there's a handful more, but most, you get the, like most woodworking, like they don't have 20 years of public speaking experience.
Makes sense.
And so like I had to figure out how do I hold a room for 30 minutes on a very, very serious topic that is divisive. You know? So I have that. And then I grew up, my dad was like a sound man. And when I was a teenager, I worked for the lighting designer for David Copperfield. And so like I was a stagehand and in the stagehand union at like 17 and was working with source fours and park hands and spotlights and intelligent moving lights before I could drive. And so like sound and lighting and video and Photoshop, I got into all that when I was like 15, 16 years old, 12 years old is when I started getting into it. I'll be 40 this year. So for like 28 years, I've been playing with microphones and lights and cameras and computers and graphics. So all of that stuff just kind of combines. So when I pull on it, for me, it's an unfair advantage where I get a lot of leverage. But I don't think everyone needs to do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Cam Anderson got to 100,000 subscribers with his iPhone. Jason Hibbs is almost going to hit 1 million, and he still uses his iPhone, and probably doesn't have a light. You know, so I don't know that it's necessary.
There are videos that I'll come across that are recommended to me, and the thumbnail is clearly taken from a screenshot from the middle of the video, not thought out before. The content is maybe 20, 30 minutes long, and a lot of it's just long and drawn out. But the topic is what is getting them. You look at them and it's like, how did this video get 50,000 views? I can't stand the first minute of it, but it's the topic. And so that topic resonated with an audience. So what you're saying is 100% true. And I spend so much time watching Think Media and video creators and all great channels and, you know, with lots of useful information. But a lot of that talks about the algorithm and, you know, making videos for the algorithm. So what you're saying challenges that, but also makes a ton of sense. Because if I think of as a viewer, I'm watching these videos because I enjoy the content, like the topic.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's now a popular saying, and I believe it, is that the algorithm follows people. The algorithm follows what people are clicking on. So if you're making content that people want to click on, I guess, you're making video for the algorithm, but the algorithm just follow. I would just focus on people. And that's why I would ask, like every video I do now, I'm asking, like I will wear out the community tab feature. Like I'm surprised how few creators use the community tab. It takes no time to do.
Yeah.
Like I'll share other people's videos. I'll like share behind the scenes photos. I'll get polls. And to me, it's like I'm staying in front of you and I'm not doing a video yet. And you're also helping me and I'm helping you and I'm getting interaction with you. And like, I don't know why people don't use the community tab more. I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers to use it. But if you have 1,000 subscribers, you're not using the community tab.
I don't think so. Because
what are you doing? Did they open it up to more?
For the podcast, I only have less than 100, you know, because I'm a new podcast. And I was able to put a community post out there. So ahead of time.
Good.
So yeah, I think it's available.
Well, it was 1,000. It was 1,000 for me.
Maybe I just got lucky. Or maybe I posted it on the wrong page.
No, it might be 100. Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's whatever it is. If you have access, use it. Use it to serve people. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah,
I mean, just sit down and even if people don't engage, give it time. You know.
Well, and so speaking of making videos that compel or are made for people, but you also have a different like you have a product that you make and sell, but you don't see a lot of that product, in your content, your recent content, that is. But yet your products are doing really well. So tell us kind of the different products that you make.
Yeah, I think it was summer of 2021. I was listening to a talk that Sean Cannell was doing from Think Media, and it was all about like having a business behind YouTube. And at that time I was like, I'm just trying to make videos, and I'm hoping that I'll get monetized one day, and I hope that I can do enough affiliates, and maybe like when views hit a certain thing, it'll make money. And he was just like challenging that idea of like, the reality is Amazon could come out and say, hey, they'd already done it once or a couple of times. Like, I think at one time it was 3% or 6%, and they dropped it to 3%. And, like tomorrow they could say, we're giving you 1%. Or like the algorithm can change. Like, you don't want to put your financial eggs in like those baskets. And no, I hadn't even been monetized yet, but that's what I was aiming on. And so I'm like, well, I don't know what kind of business I would have. Like, this is like a hobby for me right now that I hope becomes a side hustle. Like, I can't even think about a business. And so this will go back to, I think what I'm about to tell you, I have made close to $100,000 on. So listen up, kids.
Got my pencil ready.
But this goes back to what I said before. Okay, so I make this track saw video. I think I shared this on Matt's 731's thing the other day. But I noticed it did well, so I did a accessories to track saws video, because I'm trying to be a good YouTuber.
Of course.
Do a follow up when one video hits. Do a follow up. Right.
Double down.
Yeah, so I think that track saw video initially got like 30,000, and I had 30 subscribers or something. I was like, oh man! So I did a follow up, and I got like 15,000 on that follow up. I was like, great. And I had some Amazon links, and I noticed the number one thing people were buying was this like $40 Syntec hose for the track saw, and I just thought that was interesting. And then the second thing people were buying was this automatic vacuum switch for like $30. You plug your tool in, you plug your vacuum in. And then when you pull the trigger on the tool, the vacuum turns on. And months go by before I make the connection that people spend money on dust collection for their track saws. Okay. So then I see another video somewhere, and someone's using their track saw, and they have a piece of duct tape covering the arbor hole that's in the side of the plate, so you can change the blade. And I was like, oh, I bet they put the tape on there to maximize their suction, And then I had seen someone else make a little snap-in cover, and it was like neon orange or something. And it was just like, didn't look good with the saw. And I just thought, I bet I could make one of those. But like try to get filament that matches Makita. And I wonder if I took really good listing photos and put it on Etsy, could I sell some? And so I bought a 3D printer for $300 off of Amazon. I knew nothing about 3D printing. And I Googled like Makita, 3D printer filament, Makita teal. And I found a Reddit post of somebody who had like, hey, I found this, it's called mid-century teal from Paramount or something like that. So I Googled it on Amazon. I was like, well, that's actually a close teal. It's not dead on. I don't use that one anymore. But don't
give away all your secrets.
It was really, I'll give it. Yeah. Go to protopasta.com, and it's whatever the word Makita is spelled backwards, because they don't want to get in trouble, but it's an exact match. So if you want Festool or Makita 3D printed, go to Protopasta. And they actually made them based on the brand color. So I use those now, but they're like $50 a roll. Yeah. So you're going to spend some money. So anyways, I get a 3D printer, and I learn how to do it. I find someone on Fiverr who can take my sketch and turn it into the file, because I don't know Fusion. And I still use that guy to this day. He's a great contractor. And so I figured it out. I needed to sell 30 of these caps to pay for the 3D printer. I only had $200 in my business account, and I had a credit card, and I've never carried a balance. So I had, this $300 printer, this like $30 filament, some boxes, some label. I had all this stuff on the credit card, and I didn't want to carry a balance, and I didn't even have the money to pay it off. So I was like, man, I need to sell these things. And I ended up selling, I think, 60 that month. And I doubled what I needed, and I paid for the printer, and I made some. And people started asking me, hey, do you do the cordless version? And so I was like, I can't afford to go buy the Milwaukee 36 volt like you have. So you know what I did? I haven't actually told anyone this. I went to a spare parts website, and I found that you can buy the side replacement covers of these things for like $20. And so I bought the replacement part for the 36 volt for $20, and then I made the part off of that. And then I just photoshopped it in. And then I did that for the 40 volt. I did that for DeWalt. Like I have a DeWalt cap. I don't own the DeWalt saw. I just have the side cover that I bought.
So you have 11 and a half tracks.
I did it for... Yeah. Well, I have a lot of those plates. I thought I had one over here. I just had one on my desk. I think I took it downstairs. Rats. Anyways, the Festool one was $50. I was like, man.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I just started getting into that. And by December, so that was like November. By December, I had a second 3D printer because I needed to keep up with demand. And I now own 15 3D printers that run almost all day. And I've got a couple more products that I'm releasing this week, and it's turned into a full-fledged business. But it all started, the point of all that is I was paying attention to what my subscribers were buying off of my Amazon links. And I had no clue that they'd be interested in track saws. I had no clue that they'd be interested in dust collection or hoses or vacuum switches. Or I honestly had no clue when I started my channel, but I paid attention to what problems people had. And I was like, well, how could I make a solution for that? And people spend money on solutions to problems.
Yeah.
So if you can notice the problems people have, come up with a solution, people will give you money.
I got some stuff from Stealth Mounts, and I was like, how simple is this? You could 3D print this stuff, and it's shop jigs and stuff like that, but at a reasonable price point. And that's exactly what you've done. You've solved the problem. Somebody doesn't have to spend $50 on a roll of filament. They can go and buy that product easily from your website. So you're doing really well on the product side. And so I guess from a product and channel monetization standpoint, are they fairly equal?
I probably, like right now, we've had months where we've made $3,000 in products. We've had months where we've sold $15,000 in products. We probably average maybe around $10,000 a month. That's top line. That's not, shipping's probably $1,500. There's probably $500 worth of filament. So, there's, if we sell $10,000 worth of 3D printed products, we're probably profiting maybe $7,000. That's not including the time. That's not including like what we'd pay, ourselves or anything. And I probably make $2,000 to $3,000 a month on YouTube for AdSense. So,
So without that backing,
on like the bed,
without that backing, you would. Yeah.
Oh, the only reason why I'm able to do this full time is because I have a 3D printing business behind YouTube, and it's pretty predictable and solid, and I control every part of it. If I was relying on affiliate links or YouTube ads, it's all over the place. There's months I'll do $100 in affiliates. There's months I'll do $2,000 in affiliates. It's out of my control, So yeah, having a business, and it's work. I mean, like today, my wife and I worked on 3D printing stuff. Yesterday, Saturday, we worked on 3D printing stuff. Like every day we're pulling stuff off the printers. We're like mailing things. We could like close down on several days, but one of on Etsy, a lot of people ship 7 days. And one of our things, like, if we have it, we're just going to mail it to you that day. You know, and like almost all the reviews say, wow, fast shipping. So that's one of our things, like, we're just going to, as soon as you order, if we have it in stock, which we almost always do, it's going out that day. You know, it's just what it is. So we work. Like, it's not like we're just hanging out making lots of money. Like, but I would rather work with my wife out of our spare bedroom than go make someone else up $10,000.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? So
do you have that thing down to a science to where you've got the timing down, or is it just like are you running all the jobs at the same time to where they all finish at the same time and you start another batch?
No, we have like the settings dialed in. So everything is now on like SD cards, and we have like 2 printers that are dedicated to Festool color. We have 2 Makita printers. I have a Craig printer. I've got a Ryobi printer. I have like 3 or 4 black printers. I have a Milwaukee printer. And I think that might be it. And so like every filament is going to have a little bit different, what you call, I calibrate what's called the E-steps, which is you tell the printer, send 100 millimeters of filament through, but depending on the filament and the color, there might be more or less resistance. And so you might get 97 millimeters because there was more resistance in the thing. And so you change what's called the E-steps. You just, there's like a calculation you make. It's really boring. But I have all the printers dialed in to whatever filament color I'm using. And then those files are dialed into that. So all my wife has to do at this point is like walk in and like hit start, and then it comes off the printer and goes into the bin and all that stuff. So they're not timed, but everything is, we'll walk in a couple times a day and, oh, this one's done. Let's pull this one off and restart it. We could probably maximize a little bit more, but
have you done any? I haven't come across it. Have you done any content on that process?
I thought about it. I've kind of wondered like how well it would perform, but I'm getting those almost every week. I am getting those questions like, hey, what printer should I get, etc. So I'm in the beginning stages of working on a, everything you need to know about 3D printing if you're a woodworker video. The next step will be asking the audience what they want to know, and I'll build it from there. But I think I've hit the point of, I know I can help people. It's just, are they interested? And then if they are interested, well, what do you want to know?
I could speak for one and and say that, I'm interested, but I'm just one. So I guess if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below if you're interested in that. What do you want to know? Head over to his channel, to Drew's channel, Woodworks. So you're doing everything from the dust covers to rail guide covers, hose adapters, with the dust cover being your number one top seller.
Yeah, I think the number one seller now is these starter kits where you get a dust cap, a rail protection caps, a deflector, a hose deflector. I'm about to release these Traxall, guide rail mounts that you can screw onto a wall or your garage door and like hang and like store your tracks. So, and I've got some more sanding accessories that are coming out. I've gotten a lot of requests for these Rockler hoses, so I just bought a couple, like the popular Rockler hoses. So I have hose clips where you can, if you've got a sander or a tool that you're hooking up, you can clip your power cord to the hose and it like stay together. So those I've got, I think 3 or 4 of those models that'll get listed this week. And a lot of times people just ask me like, hey, do you have any interest in making this? And like when I get like 5 of those, I go, okay, I think we're on to something, we can
That's
make
awesome.
that. But I'm not the only, like I haven't invented it. There's people who have done this stuff and they do way better than me.
But your background in photography or, videography, lighting, just making a better visual presentation, I think that helps you stand out, among the crowd. Even people like who are making cutting boards. If if you make cutting boards and you're struggling to make those sales of cutting boards on Etsy, which if you can avoid Etsy for cutting boards, you should. It's saturated and it's expensive.
Or just avoid cutting boards completely.
Yeah.
It's more profitable.
Yeah, I had Dick Sawyer on, for last week's episode, and he does this whole series that's, instead of cutting boards, make this, and it's so
that's
good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
You should go check his channel out because he's funny.
I will.
He builds
that.
in lots of dad jokes and appropriate humor. So, but it's my guilty pleasure.
It is nice. So a really good story, a lesson I learned is when I was pastoring, one of the parishioners I think he was probably 80, and he used to be the hotel manager for the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Mm.
He was the general manager of the Beverly Hills Hotel. And so one day we go to lunch, and anytime I'm in company like that, I'm always like, hey, what do I need to know that I don't know?
Mm.
What do I not know that I need to know?
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me this, he said, when I went to hotel school in Switzerland, the first lesson they teach all the general managers is the eye eats first. And I was like, what? And he goes, when you walk into a hotel lobby, a disproportionate amount of the money is spent on the exterior of the hotel in the lobby.
It's true.
Because the eye eats first. And he goes, where hotels really make their money is the restaurant. And he's like, you could have the worst tasting hamburger in the restaurant, but if it's served in a beautiful way, in a beautiful dining room, you can charge $40 for it because the eye eats first, not the stomach.
Dang.
And he's just like, yeah, like this is how the Beverly Hills Hotel runs is we have our food, but it is served in a beautiful way, in a beautiful atmosphere. He's had, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson has stayed at his hotel. Like he's had the most famous people in the world stay at his hotel. And he's like the number one lesson that he wanted to pass on to me is the eye eats first. So I've always remembered that lesson, whether it's YouTube videos or like the lobby at church or a listing photo on my store or on Etsy, is the eye eats first. Before they read the description, before they read the title of the video, the first thing they see is visual. And so I put so much effort into what does the thumbnail look like, what does the video quality look like, what does the Etsy listing look like, all of that, because the eye eats
so
first.
Good. That's so good. I want to take a little bit of that into the after show. We'll record a few minutes over there for the patron members. So hopefully you'll.
I should have saved all this for them.
Yeah,
I'll come up with some good stuff.
So we'll head over there. But if people want to find you, I'll put the links in the description below, so you can check that out. But you can look up Drew, or you can look up Wittworks on YouTube, or Wittworks on Instagram. Anywhere else? So your website, of course.
Yes, my website's wittworks.shop.
Yep. I knew I was not gonna get that right. So let you take that one over.
Oh, it's all good.
So thanks for being here. And I'll leave all those links there. We'll head over to the after show. I'm Matt with Voltner Woodworking. You can find me on Instagram or YouTube at Voltner Woodworking. And I tell people don't follow me on TikTok because it's just reposts of my Instagram content.
I'm not even on TikTok. Good for you.
You're smart. You're smart. I think my last TikTok was months ago, so I just don't care. I don't want to put the effort into it. Follow Maker Lounge Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube, so you can see Drew's smiling face over there, and make sure that you subscribe. Help us get to that 100 mark.
We'll get you there.
There you go. All right, let's head over to that after show. Thanks for listening. All of our patrons are awesome, but thanks to our top tier patrons, our Rockstar patrons, Jimmy McAnally, Artigiano, Serio, Wimm Design, Calvary Customs LLC, Cleancut Woodworking, Bailey Thompson, Dave Garcia, Broken Lead Woodworks, Stark's Lagoon, and new patron Sawyer Design. If you want to get in on the action, head over to patreon.com/MakerLoungePodcast. We'll see you in next week's episode.